There are many questions surrounding Derrick Lewis after he suffers a third consecutive loss in a first-round submission to Serghei Spivac on Saturday in the UFC Fight Night 218 headliner. It's been a rough go for Lewis in recent years. He's had a lot of struggles out there. He's never seen a losing skid like this before, and especially when he was on top of the world just not too long ago, the UFC's knockout king. At 37 years old, you just wonder about what the future holds, where his motivation lies, all these type of things for him going forward. UFC President Dana White saying post-fight that Lewis's position has not changed at all in the UFC. His stock didn't drop despite this string of results, and he is going to have a position on the roster as long as he seemingly wants it, because Dana, in his own words, loves him. So I think that is good news if you're Derrick Lewis and worrying about potential job security, anything like that. But the bad news is you look over the rankings as he's falling, no easier fights for him really above going forward. Of course, they could put him against some unranked talent, try to get him some wins with a layup, but he is paid a pretty sum by the UFC and is a headliner in their mind, so it's hard to think that they would go in the direction of giving him a layup fight of sorts. But the matchup that I think would be intriguing to me, especially if you're the UFC trying to potentially capitalize on what may be left of Lewis's name, you don't really know how much that is at this point of time. Maybe he has a few more fights and you want to get that rub off his name, who knows. But I look at a potentially returning Tom Aspinall as an intriguing matchup. Of course, Aspinall suffered that catastrophic knee injury in his main event with Curtis Blaydes last year in London. He is on the comeback, recovering, hoping to fight at some point this year. And I think after a little hiatus for Lewis, figure out what he needs to do to maybe get his head on right and change things for the better. I think a matchup with Aspinall, who could potentially be vulnerable coming off that knee injury, would be a good matchup. But of course, if Aspinall could get that win and bounce back, that would be huge for his career, and he is likely the one with a bigger UFC future at this point. So it remains to be seen how things shake out. We haven't heard from Derrick Lewis. We don't know what he thinks about his future at this point, but if he wants to continue fighting, not going to be any easier fights for him, but I think there's still some available matchups, some potentially winnable matchups, and I do think for Aspinall and him, that is a good fight on both sides of the coin.